Hey everybody, I'm Joshua.
And I'm Caleb.
And when you see us coming from a vehicle that has the ability to move at any second, well, you already know. That means we're talking about things we're too scared to be in a brick and mortar about. Because in a brick and mortar, you can GPS us, you can find us.
That's
Heck,
true.
You can launch anything you want at us, from a cyber attack to a rocket attack. So we're going to stay here for this message.
This is our safe mobile zone, Josh. You may have been hearing us talk a lot about spiritual warfare lately. You've been wondering, why aren't you guys talking about the conflict or the then conflict with Israel and the indigenous Arab people over in the Middle East? And that's because we have been talking about spiritual warfare. That's really what's going on, is it not, Josh?
Literally every time you hear us, we say spiritual warfare. And you say, how does that apply to this? This is a physical conflict. Well, I'm glad you asked.
We'll go into that. So, but first we would like to explain the history of what really this conflict is. A lot of people, on the news, well, everybody in the news has been telling you a lie about how this conflict started. Israel's occupiers, they're so mean, they take away the land from the poor peoples of that land.
You almost said it.
I almost said, Josh, to talk about this, I'm going to have to use the dirtiest, most wicked curse word any man could utter.
Warning you, dude, you got kids. This internet lasts forever. If you say things like this, they're going to be able to pull this up for the rest of your life.
Palestine. Oh, I feel so dirty saying it. Sorry, guys. I had to say Palestine because...
Now, before you get offended, shut your mouth and listen for a second. We know how the internet works today. Everybody gets real excited and jumps on a hashtag and thinks they know everything about it. And I've seen some pretty cool memes. But let's actually do some history before you get on a bandwagon that you're not associated with. We love you.
There never has been, nor ever in the history of mankind, a country of Palestine or Palestinian people that are residents of this country of Palestine. This is all farce. There's been a territory that may have been referred to as Palestine. You say, I open my Bible, I look in the back of that atlas, and it says Palestine in there. Well, guys, anti-Semitism is a big thing, even amongst the church. Replacement theology being taught, that just shows you the extent of the disinformation going on around that.
Let's be honest, if you're reading the back page of the Bible only, if you're looking at the notes from the editor, like, what are you doing, dude? Read the actual Bible itself.
All right, where did this name first began? Go back in 135 AD, Josh. The Roman Emperor Hadrian had a conflict with a Jewish uprising, people who were trying to take their land back. You know about the 70 AD diaspora when Titus, the Jews were just spread across the world. There was always a remnant of Jews, Josh, that stayed in Israel. Throughout history, there's always been Jews living there. And so in
Emperor Hadrian
yeah,
goes in there, and to mock the Jews that he just ran out of their land, what does he do? He calls it
Palestine. He calls it Palestine after the ancient old enemy feud with the Philistines that the Jews had. But
the Philistines, those guys, they built... They lived in the desert, right? And they were brown, and they had like pyramids and stuff like that.
I know everybody thinks, Goliath, the Philistine, these were like, dark Semitic people, but they were really seafaring people from the Adriatic Sea, from the Greek islands. They were fair-skinned. They weren't really these land dwellers that you think of, but yeah, they still... Palestine. That name didn't really stick too long. We know that during the Crusades that was going on, the people, the Crusaders that took over the area called it the Kingdom of Jerusalem. Right. And it wasn't until the British took over that territory, and back in 1920 they renamed it Mandatory Palestine.
Now, guys, I know you love the British.
Yeah.
I've been to the UK many, many times.
Yes, you have.
How many of you are going to stop going to Starbucks today and buy tea only? Any of you? Is Starbucks going to lose $1 billion tomorrow because you're going to start drinking tea because the British had the best idea? Are you going to start calling the Dallas Cowboys the Dallas Cowboys soccer team?
That's right. They misname things all the time, Josh. They misname.
Their football is with your feet.
Soccer football, or what about nappies? I love naps, but they call diapers nappies, Josh. They just misname things all the time.
I don't go and rub diapers on my face when I'm tired. That's not what I do, Britt Land.
All right. Well, the British, the name Palestine, that was over a territory that stuck by the British for literally 28 years until they surrendered that territory to the Jews. May 14th, 1948, Israel became a nation again. They were reborn. A nation was born in a day.
Now, just to think for a second, remember why we're telling you it's not about the British so much. It's about the fact that was in the 1920s.
Yes.
And you have people who are screaming out loud today that the indigenous Arabs in that area were there for thousands of years and have claim to this specific area.
Yes.
But they go further because they start discussing that Jerusalem and these areas are a very high holy place for them.
Yeah.
But when we look in the Quran, Jerusalem isn't mentioned anywhere in the Quran.
That's right.
In fact, the holy place that was first installed in Jerusalem was Solomon's Temple.
That's right. And from Solomon's Temple, after the Romans destroyed the temple of Herod, they built a temple of Jupiter on the complex. After Rome was Christianized, they then built a church there. A medieval church was built. Then after that, the Muslims, they built the Dome of the Rock that you see there now.
But now it's 1948, okay? And the Jewish people have been attempting, the United Nations had even been attempting to try to get them a spot for a long time and haven't been able to happen.
The rise of Zionism was happening in the late 1800s. People were looking for the Jews to have a homeland, a territory for them to live in, and it had to have been Israel. That was their territory. That was their God-given inheritance. And many people tried to make two-state solutions. Even way back then, the Arabs would have nothing of it. They would not live side by side with the Jewish people. So at the time, Josh, that Israel became a nation, there was about 800,000 Arabs living in the territory.
In fact, in 1947, I'll go a little more specific, 809,100 were counted.
That is a very specific number.
In the area. I pulled these things out of, the Wikipedia of my brain, or the notes written by my brother. Guys, this is the point. When this day in 1948 happened, and they were given this state, the state of Israel.
That's right.
The first thing that the Jewish people did was to offer full benefits to the indigenous Arabs of that area.
That's right.
They were going to give them full benefits. They were going to make sure that they had access to all their funds. Everything that they had been living their life for was going to be theirs. But they didn't want it.
They didn't want it, and this is what happened, guys. The Arabs were already leaving Israel way before that time began because it was a dump. Literally, Israel was a dump. It was not a
Mark Twain references that, doesn't he?
Mark Twain, back in the late 1800s, he said that Israel was not a hospitable place to live. It was a land of swamps and deserts, and he could not see how this place could ever be the promised land of the Jewish people. So the Arabs were already leaving, and the day after Israel became a nation, it was invasion, guys. It was war. All the surrounding Arab states, we're talking Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, Egypt, and even the armies from Saudi Arabia, they came in and they were going to wipe out the Jewish people.
Now, hold on. When the Jews got Israel in 1948 on day one, they had already had an established military, right, with rocket defense launch systems and
Iron Domes and all that.
No, these guys had farm tools.
Yeah.
These guys were being attacked by every surrounding Arab nation around them on the first day they became a nation.
First day.
And they warded them off.
No artillery. It was God's sovereign will to protect his people. They had just come out of Europe, out of the Holocaust, with nothing but the shirts on their back. They come to this land of Israel, and now a new enemy is trying to annihilate them, but God watched over them. And the Arabs that were invading, they thought that the indigenous Arabs of that land, those 800,000 people that Josh just referenced, were going to form a fifth column. They were going to destroy Israel from the inside out, but that didn't happen.
But instead, again to show that specific land was not something that the indigenous people cared more about. Instead of staying from the inside and giving the exterior people fighting another chance, they fled.
That's true.
So if you're buying into the myth that it's the land that matters the most because these people were here first, because they were a nation called Palestine first, it just doesn't even show in the behavior of the people living there in that moment.
That's right. They did not want to stay there. They rather fled. The Jews were not threatening them. The Jews weren't trying to cast them out. They fled, and even afterwards, after they fled, the Jews offered them back. Say, hey, we unlocked all your bank accounts. Here's all your land. Here's your houses. We'll give you all this. All you have to do is not try to kill us. All you have to do is we have these peace treaties. They tried to make peace with all the Arabs. None of them would have it. It's really sad that they would rather spite the Jews than that. And so, you did have 600,000 Arabs that fled Israel.
650,000.
650,000. That's about the number of the double that number of Jews were being persecuted in the Arab states around there. They were trying to escape those Arab states. They're refugees. They had their money stolen, their land stolen, their property, their houses in those Arab nations. They came to Israel with nothing but the shirts on their back, making aliyah.
So let's catch you up. So at this point, if in 135, Emperor Hadrian was the first person to use the word Palestinian.
Yeah.
And then in the 1920s, the British people resurfaced this word to use it as that area.
That's right.
Why do we call it today? Well, the next guy that shows up is a little nice, kind humanitarian, quote, 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 by the name of Yasser Arafat.
He was such a good guy.
He was such a good guy that the first thing he wanted to do to try to, get his point across was in the 1972 Olympics in a place called, Munich, Germany? What happened there, Caleb?
He created this terrorist organization called the PLO, a Palestinian Liberation Organization. To liberate the, quote, Palestinians, he decided to murder the Jews, the Jewish athletes.
Oh, in the Olympics, where the whole world's at.
Yeah, see, he
nice.
tried all these acts of terrorism to wipe out the Jewish people, but that wasn't working, so he decided to use a manipulatory route to deceive the people. He created the biggest PR hoax in all of history. He decided to rename the Arab indigenous people in the territory of Israel Palestinians, and that's where we get that name revived today.
Now, I am not a mathematician. I'll be the first to say that. It's 2021.
Okay.
That was in the 1970s. What's 2021 minus 1970s? Is that thousands of years?
Math? No.
Or
no.
is it like in the
Maybe.
40s? So this word, that now Yasser Arafat coined these Arab refugees as Palestinians, only happened a little over 40 years ago, guys.
That's true. So since that time, there's been numerous peace plans. We've talked before in this very vehicle about the peace plans that all these different nations have tried, the United Nations, America. Man, how many peace plans have we set up, and they've all been rejected. Israel has accepted every single peace plan. They've given up every single territory, every single one of their rights to live in a two-state solution side by side with these Palestinians, but they would have none of it still to this day. Ariel Sharon back in 2005 tried to gift wrap Gaza Strip, tried to jumpstart a peace plan and say, here, you don't even have to become a free and country, a nation state. We're just going to give you this land, the Gaza Strip. You can live there. They stripped the Jews out of that land, Josh.
They took,
out of their homes.
They took the Jews that had been living there. They kicked them out.
Yes.
They gave the Arab people, they gave them businesses, lands, water plants, basically everything, a full city
to live completely.
already set up with everything you would need. And the people, the Arab people there, who love the land so much, they care about the land because it's their indigenous land, right? They burned it all to the ground.
They burned it all to the ground to spite the Jewish people. And so they've been decrying all these years, they live in squalor and poverty. Live in destitution because of the Jews. All the United Nations and the states surrounding, they've given financial resources to these Palestinians.
When you do the math again, talking about not being a mathematician,
yes,
how much money has been given to these Arab
hundreds
indigenous
of billions
people?
of dollars every year.
So if hundreds of billions of dollars have been given to these people, then why do they not have wealth, and why do they live as refugees? In y'all's words, why are they sitting there being impoverished and whatnot? Because their leadership is corrupt and is taking that billions of dollars for the few to live on the fat and plenty, and for the majority of their people to live in squalor.
And what do they use for the rest of the money? To buy weapons, to buy rockets.
So they can shoot at everybody else.
We literally, the United States of America, have paid for years for them to fire rockets into Israel. We have funded a terrorist state. It's not even a state, the Palestinian people, to shoot rockets into Israel. Back in 2018, though, Trump said enough is enough. President Trump said, we're not going to fund these Palestinians to attack, to engage in acts of terror. He withdrew the funds. We're about to reinstate those funds under the new administration. But it's really, it's a sad thing. Israel, it's a complicated thing, Josh. Israel does not want to hurt the Arab people. Israel wants to bless them. Israel has tried to bless them. The Arabs that live as citizens of Israel, they have more rights than any other Arab in any other country, more freedoms, more plenty, because the Jews are a godly people. They want to bless them.
So in case right now you're enraged or you're confused because all the memes that you've read have focused on details that they want you to believe are all there is to the story.
Yes.
They've shown you death counts and said, look, the Israelis have killed this many children
Yes.
and this many women, but they have not spoken on the tactics of the warfare that was going on. They haven't told you that the Arab indigenous people over there are shooting rockets out of hospitals, that they're shooting them out of homes, that they're shooting them out of areas in which there are civilians, so that the fire strike going back will hit civilians.
That's
you
true.
are dealing with a culture in the Arab people that celebrate death.
They do.
They believe in their religion that death brings you straight to heaven. If they sacrifice their wives and their children, if they die in honor, then they will go to heaven and their family's going to go to heaven. And so, guys, the problem that you're dealing with is that the Israelis are defending their people and their lives
Yes.
by the same thing that any other form of warfare on the planet would do. You shoot back at the people shooting at you.
That's true.
But you know what the Israelis have done? They've gone a step further. Because 48 hours in advance, they drop pamphlets all over the area. And they
Leaflets.
say,
Yeah.
we're going to go ahead and bomb here. If you don't want to get hurt, leave.
That's right. They warn them in advance.
They warn them in advance. Nobody does that. Do you think that America goes out and they're like, hey, you guys just shot at Pearl Harbor. We're going to drop some pamphlets over here and let you know that we're about to harm you.
That's true.
Israel has done what they can do
Yes.
to defend the land that God promised their forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Now, if you're
That's
not a
right.
believer, then that may mean nothing to you.
Yes.
If you're one of those individuals that think there is no religion, that man, that's where we draw the line, maybe that doesn't mean anything in your heart. But a step beyond religion in the humanity sphere is looking at the reality and the history of people's actions. And if you want to stand up against Israel and say that they are greedy people who have fought over land, we're talking about a piece of land that's not even as big as New Jersey. And we're talking about them being opposed by
right.
individuals who have 100 times that land, who want this small
right.
piece of land out of no other reason than spite. And
Yes.
this land that God gave them, bringing God back into the equation that was promised to Isaac, God did not abandon Ishmael,
That's right.
who's the father of
Of the
these
Arab-
Arab people.
That's right.
He's blessed them.
That's
They
right.
have 100 times the land. They have countless oil on this land.
And God never revoked that
And
promise.
he never revoked it because of
That's
their
right.
behavior or anything else, because
That's right.
he made a covenant and his covenants are resolute.
That's right.
This is what I want y'all to understand today. In a day and age where every time you get on the internet or social media, you see another cause that is allegedly being defended by people. We're saying stop hate here and stop hate there, and we're picking up every cause and every individual that looks like justice is being taken from them. But yet our tactics to defend justice are hate-filled, they're with mongering, and they're with not truly investigating or understanding the situation. We simply grab a meme, we grab a picture, we grab a GIF off the internet, and we post it on our social media, and we act like we're defending a cause, and we begin to attack the other side without doing any form of due process or justice, which is the system that is established in America and around this world.
Yes.
All we are saying to you out of love, and you may think that I'm railing, I'm not. The truth is that love is something spoken in your benefit, done in your benefit. It is
right.
in your benefit, both the eternal soul inside of your body and both what happens when you put something on the internet today, to do your due diligence to research the situation and to be on the side that is actually just.
That's
And
right.
then to realize that in justice and in love, we don't want to sit there and destroy another group of people either.
No, we
we're not
love the Arab
bashing the
people.
Arab people. That's not what
We
we're
love
saying.
them with the
we
love
are
of Jesus.
simply speaking for the truth,
Yes.
because the truth is what sets you free.
Yes.
And when something is a lie, it must be opposed.
That's right.
And so, guys, do not get caught up today in the spirit of the age,
Yeah.
which shakes your fist and cries a false justice or screams for a grace that means we accept anything you do.
Yeah.
That's not God. That's not Yeshua. That's not anything
Yes.
but a lie.
That's right.
And so today, this reason we're driving around in circles and you can't locate us on GPS, don't try. We've got all kinds of cool internet nerds defending us. We really don't. But the point is we want y'all guys to know the heart of the Father
Yes.
is love, and that the lies that are being spewed today are that. So do your research, be well educated, and then when you are, stand up for justice out of love, which says, I'm holding you accountable
That's right.
for the benefit of yourself and your soul,
Yes.
and so that we can find a place where we can live together.
That's right. And guys, pray for the Arab people to come to the knowledge of Jesus. Their father Abraham is the same as our father, the Jews. And Abraham worshiped Yahweh. He worshiped Elohim. He did not worship Allah. We need to pray that they come to the God of their fathers.
And if you don't think it can be done, read
right.
in Genesis, when Abraham died, after Ishmael had been sent out as
That's
a
right.
teenager, the Bible says It says that Isaac and Ishmael joined together to
In
mourn
peace.
in
That's
peace
right.
the death of their father.
In peace. There wasn't that conflict at the end of their lives that there is now. There was restitution that was made. But now we need to pray for that peace to the land. We know that is God's land. It is a spiritual inheritance. It is a physical inheritance. And he who watches over Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. He has promised to watch out for his people, that whosoever blesses Israel will be blessed. Whosoever curses Israel will be cursed. This is a spiritual war. And therefore, we must obtain victory through the Spirit, through prayer. The Israelis are fighting in the natural. We're fighting on our knees in prayer. And guys, as we have always done in our Jewish Roots, and Zoe Levitt Presents in times past, we ask you to pray Psalm 122:6, Sha'alu Shalom Yerushalayim. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem, that they may prosper, that love Elohim, that love the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Amen. And Gilby, don't worry about the haters. They're always going to be there.
That's right.
What's that? Fidji says they're on us. Let's go. Let's
They
go.
found us. Look at it.